Nations around the world are being urged to stockpile nuclear radiation medication. This is coming from a new guidance from the World Health Organization that they just put out, and they're urging nations to stock up on potassium iodide and nascent iodine. All right, so let's get into this headline here. We are also seeing governments preparing for panic buying and fleeing the cities en masse. We will get to that in just a second, too. And we're also seeing mandatory military service being implemented inside of NATO countries as well. We will get to all this news. Lots of escalations are happening. So here's the headline: Is WHO preparing for a nuclear war? Health body publishes list of medicines for nations to stockpile in case of, quote, radiation or nuclear emergency, as the EU warns Russia is at war with the West. Germany has just come out and said that Russia is now targeting NATO and the West, and we are essentially at war with Russia now. All right. We've already known this, but now it's official that people are coming out, top government officials, and saying this, making it, solidifying it even more. So it says WHO issued a guidance on how to survive a nuclear catastrophe today, and says the threat of nuclear war heightened amid Russian fury over NATO tank deal. And if you didn't see, the US and Germany just approved to send dozens and dozens of tanks to Ukraine, and this is a brand new escalation, and they are now asking for fighter jets as well. And this is what I have, all right, just so you guys can see here. This is nascent iodine, all right. You can see on the back, nascent, I don't know if it's going to focus on it, nascent iodine. This is elemental iodine, and this is great for nuclear radiation. You can also get potassium iodide, which are the pills that you can buy, and those work great too. But this is instantly absorbed under the tongue, in your mouth. You can swallow it, put it in water, swallow it, and your body absorbs it much quicker than the pills and uses it a lot more effectively. So if there's a real emergency, you want the best stuff you can get, and that's the best. It's elemental iodine. It's called nascent iodine, and I have no affiliation with this. This is just stuff that I've had in my stockpile for a decade, since I started getting into this stuff. So you can see here WHO has updated its list of medicines to stockpile for, quote, radiological and nuclear emergencies just hour after the EU warned that Russia is, quote, at war with the West. And they are warning against, quote, intentional uses of radioactive materials with malicious intent. All right, and governments are preparing for panic buying in the event of a nuclear event, because even if a tactical nuke is dropped in Ukraine, this is going to cause panic buying and major supply chain disruptions throughout the world and throughout the West. This is going to cause chaos, all right? And you can see here, even the WHO directors come out and said, in radiation emergencies, people may be exposed to radiation at doses ranging from negligible to life-threatening. Governments need to make treatments available for those in need and fast, and said it is essential that governments are prepared to protect the health of populations and respond immediately to emergencies. This includes having ready supplies of life-saving medicines that will reduce the risk and treat injuries from radiation. That's what the WHO director is also coming out and saying. So something we need to take serious, because we know how much power the WHO has over government decisions and what happens in the world. We know this is a very powerful global organization and global body, all right, global governance body, very powerful, the WHO is, all right. And we can see here, this is an article from October, just a few months ago, and it says the West makes plans to avoid panic if Russia uses a nuclear bomb in Ukraine, all right? And you can see it says Western officials are engaged in, quote, prudent planning behind the scenes to prevent chaos and panic in their home countries in the event Russia was to detonate a nuclear bomb in or near Ukraine. See, it doesn't even have to be in the West and a NATO country, just in Ukraine, and it's going to cause panic buying and, quote, people fleeing the cities en masse, all right? So we can see here it says, hints of the thinking emerged in a briefing by an official on Friday who was asked if there would be measures in place to prevent panic buying or people fleeing cities en masse in fear of escalation after a nuclear event. And it says governments are engaged in, quote, prudent planning for a range of possible scenarios, said the Western official who was speaking on conditions of anonymity. And although they stress that any use of nuclear weapons in the war would be abhorrent. All right, so this is happening, guys. Governments are getting prepared for this, and it's one of these things. They need a giant event to implement this reset agenda. All right, it could be a financial collapse of the dollar. It could be a nuclear war. It could be hyperinflation. It could be civil unrest. All right. Georgia just declared a state of emergency. Go check out that video if you didn't see it. I posted yesterday. They're preparing for mass riots all throughout Georgia. All right. State of emergency has been declared. It could be civil unrest. Whatever it is, they need a big event like this to cause a reset and for essentially martial law to be declared. All right, they want to prevent people from fleeing the cities and prevent them from panic buying. How do you think they're going to do that? All right, they're going to use the National Guard, they're going to use the military, they're going to use the SWAT teams to implement this agenda, and this is already happening in the state of Georgia right now. All right, go check out that video if you didn't see it already. And you can see here Denmark is already calling for mandatory military service for women. So, and they're saying the move comes as NATO criticizes Denmark for defense shortcomings. So countries in NATO are already feeling the heat. Countries in Europe are feeling the heat, and they are implementing more mandatory military service for their populations, and now they're coming for women, right? This is getting serious, guys. This is essentially, they are getting ready for something big to happen soon. And we've seen all these top generals come out and saying, this is going to drag out for years. We're going to give whatever it takes. They're already talking about giving fighter jets to Ukraine now too. And it says defense minister says more women would benefit the armed forces. All right. And it's one of these things, I thought it was kind of ironic here, just a little bit of irony that Bloomberg posted this under their equality. It's not even under the Ukraine war or Russia or anything. It's under equality for women to have mandatory military service. It's just kind of dystopian, the spaces that we are getting to, all right? I would not want my wife to be forced to serve in the military. All right, that's just my personal opinion. Call me what that, but I want my wife to be safe, all right? I would not want my wife to be in a mandatory military service position in Denmark, right near Russia, when all of this stuff is escalating in a NATO country, all right? It's just not something I would want, all right? So let me know what you guys think about all this stuff. Things are escalating. Who is coming out and saying, and you guys know how powerful who is on these decisions that they make. When they say something like this, governments react, governments move, governments start acting, governments start implementing agendas, start spending a ton of money. That's what they do when the WHO says jump and governments say how high. That is essentially the international treaties that we are in with this global governance body. That's what the WHO is, all right? So let me know what you guys think about this. This is escalating. Get prepared, all right? Get stocked up. I'm telling you, I've had this stuff for 10 plus years in my stockpile. I always get new stuff. I cycle through it. Sometimes I use it too. This is also great for wounds, all right? You can put nascent iodine whenever I have cuts or anything. They use iodine in medical situations, all right? When they do medical emergencies on farm animals, a lot of times they'll just dose them in iodine out there in the field. They'll just dump a bunch of iodine and, get them open. I don't want to get too graphic. You know how YouTube is. But medical emergencies, iodine is great for disinfecting too. It's perfect for that as well. You can put it on almost anything. You can brush your teeth with it. All these different uses for this as well. It's great to have in your survival kit. And I have no affiliation with this. It's just something that I've used and I think is a great product. So thank you guys so much. Smash that like button. Smash that sub. Smash those comments. Are you prepared for this? What do you think's happening here? The WHO is coming out and saying this. Get prepared, guys. And hit that hit all that stuff down there, and you have a big old blessed day.